I want to talk to you for just a couple minutes about the newly established central office of the Baptist Bible Fellowship. This central office is really the culmination of over 2 years worth of strategic planning from the executive committee and the entity leaders of the fellowship that were meeting together from 2018 really through 2021 to discuss how to bring health back to the fellowship. And the central office is one of the final ideas for sustainability for the future health and future effectiveness of the BBFI. That kind of all culminated in September 2022 at the National Fellowship meeting at Park Crest. And really the transition from Tim Adrian to John Haley and every one of those guys and their executive committees were on board with this. One of the questions I get asked the most is why do we need a central office? We've never had one before. The easiest way to answer that is the BBFI has always been led by volunteers. Other than the mission office and the colleges, it's been led by volunteers. Every 2 years, or historically it used to be every year, there's a new set of leaders elected to lead the fellowship as a whole. And one of the challenges with that is you can get together in a fellowship meeting and come up with all kinds of plans and ideas, but there's no one available to execute those plans or ideas after all those pastors return back to their churches, which is their first priority, as it should be. I was actually just looking through minutes or some notes from meetings from over a decade ago, and there were the national officers and the executive committee 15 years ago were talking about how to fix the same problems and challenges that we're going through today, and had some of the same ideas then. But 15 years later, nothing has been done because our fellowship's been led primarily by volunteers. And that's a great thing. There's great reasons why that's a healthy organization. We're led by practitioners, which is a great thing. But there needs to be someone or an office to help fulfill and carry out the mission and the vision. You know, most people agree that the strongest part of the BBFI today, and probably for the last 70 years, has been our focus on international missions and how we take care of our missionaries. And one of the reasons why that's so strong in our fellowship today is because we have an entire mission office dedicated to serving our missionaries and to equipping and training our missionaries and being there to provide care and support for our missionaries. And I love that I get to be in the same office as our mission director and assistant mission directors. But there's an entire staff and team devoted to this one area, which is why it's so healthy in our fellowship. We need a central office, and this was determined through years of strategic planning, to do the same thing on the state side, on the domestic side, to help pastors and help churches the same way that our mission office helps missionaries. So that's why this central office was established. Now to get to the why behind what we're going to be doing and what we're going to focus on. It was determined actually through the strategic planning that we did over the last several years. We wanted to try to identify what is the mission of the BBFI. And if we could write it as a mission statement, what would that be? Most of your churches, you've established a mission statement, or you know what your mission of your church is. And the fellowship should be similar, but it's not the same because the fellowship's not a church. It's not the local church that Jesus died for. It's a network of churches. So what's our mission? And we crafted out a statement just recently, the last month or two. All the state reps met together in Texas, and we worked through a couple days of meetings. And one of the things that came out of that meeting that was so important was, again, to understand what our mission statement is. And our mission statement of the BBFI, if you've not heard this, worded as succinctly and clearly as we can make it, the fellowship exists to serve Baptist pastors and their churches as they fulfill the Great Commission. Let me say it again. The fellowship exists to serve Baptist pastors and their churches as they fulfill the Great Commission. Well, here's the why behind the central office. The purpose, the mission of the central office is the exact same. The central office is here to serve you and here to serve your churches as you work towards fulfilling the Great Commission. And whatever the central office can do to come alongside you, to help you, to resource you, to encourage you, that's why we exist. This past fall, I completed my doctoral degree through Southwestern Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas. And my final project, my project and my dissertation was focused on the revitalization of a network of churches, specifically a strategic plan for the future effectiveness of the BBFI. So I spent a lot of time digging into the history of the BBFI, the highs and lows. I did a survey that compared who the BBFI is today to 30 years ago, where I used the same survey that a couple BBFI leaders distributed over 30 years ago. I looked at a comparative analysis of the BBFI in a similar organization. But then I used the strategic planning, what we call the StratOp team, over the last several years to put together what we believe and what the executive committee believes now as a roadmap for the future health and the sustainability of the BBFI. So we believe we have a roadmap in place in this central office, not because it's me serving and working with the central office, but having a central office that can provide some support and can provide some direction is what we believe is needed for the fellowship today. So really there's 5 specific things that the central office is going to be working towards. And some of this you may have heard before, but I want to share these 5 things with you and what our goal is that we're going to be involved in on a consistent basis. So here are those 5 things that the central office will be focused on. Number 1 is helping to provide strength and stability to our state fellowships. So we're going to provide onboarding, we're going to help provide a job description, we're going to stay in constant communication with all of our state reps to try to strengthen our state fellowships. 2, the central office is going to help plan conferences like this, regional conferences. The central office will help and support the host of all of our national fellowship meetings. So we're already working on the next several fellowship meetings all the way up to 2026. We're already communicating with those hosts and how to make those the best that they can be. A third thing we're going to do is help to continue to develop what's been called Apex churches. So both the church planting side of the fellowship and the church development side of the fellowship. So I'll be working with both Randy Abel and Terry Kaiser and the church planning side, and Jason Peterman on the church development side to provide resources and help for both of those areas, church planting and church revitalization. A fourth element is still to maintain communication within the fellowship. So it's what the communication office, if it's kind of not merged, but kind of evolved or grown into the central office, communication is still going to be a big part to communicate the success stories and the victories and the needed things that the pastors and missionaries of the fellowship need to understand and know. Now, that's still going to be on the Tribune website and through a Tribune email update. So the office will still do that. Then the fifth thing that the office is going to do is work on networking, both corporate networking. What I mean by corporate networking is some corporate partners, like our partnership with Logos Bible Software, our partnership with Guidestone Retirement Services, our partnership with Right Now Media. Those are things that are available to you as a church now. But then also some ministry partnerships. You're going to hear from Terry Thompson at Small Church USA today, and that's potentially a new strategic partner for us as a resource to help churches. So we're looking at those 5 areas that will be the bulk of the energy for this new central office. One last thing I want to say before I'm finished. I want to ask you, and I don't want to take a lot of time in a conference focused on pastoral health and church health, but I want to ask you to consider to start financially supporting and partnering with this new central office. Some of you can do it on a monthly basis, and I'm thankful for that. But I'm also asking you to maybe have a one-time special offering just for the central office. Right now, we're operating at about 65% of what our budget needs to be for this to truly be what the executive committee and what the fellowship needs. here's my way of saying thank you to everyone that will take us on for either monthly support or one-time support. If you don't have an account for Right Now Media, I have the ability to gift you a personal account of Right Now Media, which some call the Netflix of Bible studies. There's over 20,000 Bible studies that you can be a part of. You can watch on your own whenever you want, and I will be able to gift you a copy of that just to say thank you for that. Again, I'm excited about the direction of the fellowship. I believe our best days are ahead, but I believe the central office is what God's going to use to help provide long-term sustainability for the fellowship.